going on, everybody? I'm here in Georgia and fixing to get loaded here at a Tyson plant. From where I dropped off yesterday to here, there's nowhere you can get a washout. I would have had to gone down into Atlanta to get a washout, and I really didn't have time. I had to take a split break yesterday. I'll probably do a video on a split break one of these days. But here at this place, they got a self washout. Now I'm going to show you guys what I do whenever I have to do a self washout or a self clean out. A lot of people use brooms, which I do keep a broom with me just in case, because sometimes your trailer has condensation on it, and it makes, you can't just, you know, blow it right out or whatever. So this is what I use though. You can actually get a smaller one, rechargeable one at the Prime store. I just went and bought this one. One reason, because all my tools, power tools, take the same battery. So I just went with it and got an extra battery with it. So that way it also fits my drill set that I keep on my truck for any kind of purposes, maintenance purposes, trailer maintenance, you know, because sometimes these things right here, these little pieces right here will come off. You got to screw them, run some screws in them to screw them back down, and then put some caulking on them. So, but yeah, so I just, sometimes you can, now I didn't do a thorough cleaning. I just wanted to show you guys. It's a whole lot easier than sweeping if it's fairly dry. Like I said, if it's wet or moist, has condensation, sometimes that stuff will stick, and you will have to break the broom out to get it good. But yeah, man, as you can see, it blows that stuff right out. This trailer's not all that dirty, so that's probably all I'm going to do is just blow it out. And you can do that occasionally. If you know, if you get a trailer that's not too bad, you can blow it out. But please, if you blow it out at a truck stop, don't want to be one of these jerks that leaves all your crap laying around. You know, get out and pick up all the big stuff. Usually I'll bring a Walmart bag with me, and all this big stuff, like the big pallet chunks, I'll go ahead and pick it up while it's in the trailer, and then I'll put it in the bag. And then all the dust, little stuff, you know, you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, just pick up after yourself, man. These truck stops, it's a shame sometimes when you get there and see how dirty they are. This is my situation right now here in Atlanta. This is one of the worst cities to drive through. Especially down here, down south. Nashville's pretty bad. Chattanooga is pretty bad. But I've been in traffic now for about an hour, and I just left the shipper not too long ago. So I've pretty well been in traffic ever since I left. And I'm sure I'll be in traffic for the next probably hour. So stop and go for a couple of hours. So while I'm in traffic and I'm only moving about 5 to 10 miles an hour average, I want to talk about a guy I met yesterday. I think he was an older man. The side of his truck said Father Time on it, and I'll be honest, he was kind of the picture of Father Time. You know, he was definitely older man, and real nice guy though, from Wisconsin. And he come up to my truck as we was getting loaded, and he said, "Hey," he said, "what kind of motor is this truck got in it?" So I opened the hood for him, and we checked the motor out and stuff, and he was talking about his motor, and I think he said his was an ISX. He said them PACCAR motors aren't near as good, and the resale value on them's not as good. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what he said, and of course he had a Kenworth, and he said he said the motor that's in this truck really didn't have a very good resale on it. And I mean, I guess that's true, especially to somebody that probably knows their motors. But you know, a lot of people that get into the industry that are just looking to buy a truck that doesn't necessarily know the details about every kind of motor and stuff might be a little different. They may be willing to pay whatever just because they want to be in an international, or because they like certain style, or whatever the case may be. So, but anyway, I talked to this guy for a while, and he started talking about different routes going to different places because he asked where I was going. This man knows the roads in this country as good as an atlas, and that's no joke. I mean, he was telling me numbers and directions and everything else going to different places, and I thought, it was hard for me to keep up. And so I asked him, I said, how long you been driving? And he said, I've been driving since I was 12 years old. And I was blown away. I said, 12 years old? And he said, yeah. He said, back in my day, he said, if there was some farmers around and you got in with them farmers, he said you could drive a truck from around that age as long as it wasn't over like a couple 100-mile run. I'm assuming, I didn't think to ask, but I'm assuming that's probably to say the slaughterhouse and back, or wherever they had to deliver to, a couple 100 miles round trip. But I don't know, maybe it was a couple 100 miles back, or to the place, and a couple 100 miles back. He just said a couple 100 miles. He said back then you could label your truck as a tractor as long as you didn't drive it no further than that. And I'm assuming, I don't know, I haven't looked it up, but I thought, maybe that's where these trucks get the name tractor, because a lot of people in a lot of places call them tractors. So it makes me wonder if that's where they get their name. And if anybody knows, comment down below, let me know. I really enjoy history and stuff, and that really sparked my interest. I like I said, I should have looked it up myself, and I just haven't done it. I've been running on split brakes for 2 days now, so I'm up and down, and trying to get as much sleep as I can when I can, because when you run split brakes like that, you gotta take the sleep when you can, because even though one of your splits, say if you do an 8 and 2 split and you're in the sleeper berth for 8 hours, it doesn't mean you're sleeping for 8 hours. And then when you do the 2-hour off-duty part of the split, you better grab a little extra sleep while you're down for those 2 hours. So that's what I usually do. I'm usually, every chance I get, I'm trying to catch a little rest, because these split brakes will wear you out. But whenever I'm running back-to-back loads like I've been doing, and really good paying loads too, when I'm running them back-to-back and they're short loads, I tend to get stuck on running split brakes. I'm going to try to get a 10-hour in tonight. But anyways, I just wanted to tell you guys, that was pretty interesting. That man had been driving a truck since he was 12 years old. That was amazing. And, it got me to thinking, about when I learned to drive. And I learned to drive a four-wheeler, a regular car, when I was probably, well, the first time I ever held a steering wheel and was behind it was somewhere between 8 and 10. And it was my dad was driving. It was he had an old Chevy box body truck, square body, and it's 80-something model. And I remember the first time he sat me in his lap, put me behind the steering wheel. It was at nighttime, and he pretty much just said, take the wheel, hold it straight unless you need to turn, and he worked the gas and brake, and it wasn't a quarter mile, half a mile up the road, and we had to make a turn onto another road, and there was a car coming up to the stop sign. And it was a narrow road, back road, old country road, and tight turn, because that car was there, especially for a young kid like I was. I mean, I had never even thought about driving yet, and he had already put me behind the wheel. So next time, I was a little bit older. My brother and his friend, they put me behind the wheel, and I actually got to work the gas and brake going down the old country road. And Dad would do that off and on, put me, in his lap, put me behind the steering wheel, until one day I got old enough, and he just stuck me behind the wheel and had me drive him around. And I really think, and I don't know this, but I kind of think that was his plan. Kind of teach me how to drive. I mean, he even put me on a lawn tractor at a very young age, which helped me learn how to drive as well. Helped me learn how to steer, make my turns and stuff. And I loved mowing, loved driving that lawnmower. And sometimes I wonder if that wasn't his plan to train me, because when I got about, I guess it was around 12, 13 or so, he got to where he would let me drive while he sat in the passenger seat, and I drove him around. And at one time he let me just take the car after I dropped him off at home. And I went and picked up a couple of my buddies, went joyriding for a while, nearly got into a wreck. And one of my very first incidents that I ever remember that taught me a really good lesson about driving. And but the reason I say I think that might have been his plan. My dad, he was a drinker. He drank all the time. I mean, you might as well say he was an alcoholic. And I almost think that might have been his plan, was so he could drink and I could drive him around. But yeah, after that, one of the times he let me take the car, I guess he slept the alcohol off. When he woke up, I was still gone, and he called my mom, told on me, said I was out, just took the car on my own. He didn't tell her that he had been letting me drive. And so after that, me and him had a kind of a falling out. We didn't see each other or talk as much anymore after that, because especially once he kind of told on me and made me try to make me look like the bad guy, I told everything I knew on him. So after that, it was kind of, we didn't see each other much after that. And it's probably a good thing. Like I said, he was a really heavy drinker. So, and then after I learned how to drive from him teaching me, my stepdad, around the same time, he taught me how to drive a stick shift Toyota, manual Toyota truck. 92 model, black, and he started me out on a hill. Of course, he already knew how to drive, but yeah, he didn't start me off easy. He didn't start me off on flat ground. He started me off right on a hill, and I killed it, I think, twice, maybe 3 times, and then but I finally made it up that hill and got going down the road. And I don't know, it's kind of funny, because seems like that's the way I was always taught, the sink or swim method. I remember I was taught to swim by just throwing me in the deep end. My brother, he taught me how to hold my breath by just holding me underwater. You know, so it's always put me in the hard spot, and then I had to work my way out of it. But yeah, so that's how I learned how to drive. I'm sure my stepdad thought it was a mistake after he taught me how to drive a manual, because then I made a spare key to his truck and would skip school sometimes and take his truck for a joyride. He finally caught on after a while, and especially after I put a new radio in his truck, he thought, boy, something's up, and he caught me one day. So, but yeah, tell me in the comments how old you was when you learned how to drive. Something I forgot to mention earlier whenever I was cleaning out my trailer, I think that leaf blower was somewhere around 150 bucks, give or take. I can't recall the exact price. And it came with the battery and a battery charger. Might have been up closer to 200. Again, I can't remember the exact price, but I don't think it was. I believe it was definitely under 200. So I'll say around 150, maybe 175. But it's probably I'd say it's probably a lot better than the one you can buy at Prime, at the Prime store. The one at the Prime store, it's quite a bit smaller, and I just don't see that it has a whole lot of power, and I just don't think it's probably as good a quality as the leaf blower I've got. I bought mine at Home Depot, I believe. I don't think Lowe's carried it. But something else I wanted to mention, I'm going to wrap the video up with this, is today is the last day of Blitz Week, supposedly. If you can see me, I'm doing my quotation, my air quotation marks with my fingers. But yeah, supposedly. Each state's a little different. Some run their Blitz Week earlier in the week. Some run their, well, it's 3 days. From the 4th to the 6th is supposed to be the 3 days that they chose this year. But I kind of think that's why they call it Blitz Week instead of Blitz Days, because I'm pretty sure Texas, when I come through Texas, they were already doing theirs. Because they had me pulling in the weigh stations left and right, and that doesn't happen very often. So each state's a little different. Some will start theirs earlier, some will start theirs later, some will run a little longer. I think some may run a little shorter. Not real sure, but yeah, each state's a little different. I've noticed down here in Georgia, they're hitting it pretty hard today. So yeah, the period was from 4th to the 6th. So today's supposed to be the last day of Blitz Week. And that's the reason I wanted to mention it. I meant to bring it up earlier this week before it actually started to talk about it, but I just didn't get around to it. So we'll talk about it now. For those of you that don't know what Blitz Week is, it's a time of the year that the FCMSA chooses to do a countrywide, a nationwide ramp up of inspections on trucks. So this year their main focus was lights and your logs. Now that doesn't mean they can't check other stuff. If they pull you in, they can check whatever they want and as much as they want. They can do anywhere from a level 1 to level 5 or whatever, whatever it is that they feel necessary to do on you. And I'm sure the more that they find or if they find something, the more they're going to want to dig. Now, I haven't ever been inspected on any blitz week. I've been inspected once every year that I've been here, so I've been inspected twice, and neither time was on blitz week. Now, they usually have multiple blitz weeks a year. This is the first one, and it seems like, from what I've read, that this is one of their most major blitz weeks, is at the beginning of the year. I know Canada and Mexico, they join us in this blitz week. I don't think they do in the rest of them. Don't hold me to that, but I know for a fact that this year, on this blitz week, Canada and Mexico joined us on running the blitz week. So, you need to make sure your stuff's up to par at all times anyway, but this time of the year, it's especially important to make sure, that you are working at your best. So, again, you still need to be doing your pre-trips and your inspections, making sure your lights work. I mean, that's just part of it, but like I said, they open up a lot more weigh stations this time of the year during Blitz Week, and they pull in tons of trucks. I forget how many trucks they pulled in last year, but I think it was like 20-something% of the trucks that they pulled in were cited for some sort of violation. It was actually over 20%. That's a lot of trucks, because it's thousands of trucks that they pull in a 3-day period. So, again, I forget how many thousands, but it's thousands. It's a bunch. I mean, some places they work day and night. Some weigh stations will stay up open 24/7 or 24 hours a day for Blitz Week, and they just pull trucks in left and right. So yeah, that's when you think about thousands of trucks being pulled in, and 20% of them are cited for violations or even possibly shut completely down. That's a lot of trucks. I mean, you're still talking probably thousands of trucks that are getting cited. So this is something that happens every year. It usually happens around the same time every year. Now, I think there's 2 more coming up this year. One, I think they said around August, and then one maybe in October, I believe the dates were. Not real sure, but I'm almost 100% sure the one's supposed to be in August. I'm sure whenever they come up, I'll mention them again. But yeah, some of you may not know about Blitz Week, or maybe you've heard Blitz Week, but you don't know what it is. It's out here in trucking. It's not a football term. It is a term that means, for a lot of people, to go on vacation. I've talked to a lot of people that say that they go home on Blitz Week. That's when they schedule their vacation. They just, just so they know for sure that they're not going to get cited for something, because, you may think you have everything in working order, but when they pull that roller out and they lay down on it and they roll underneath your truck, they may see something that you didn't catch. So, you really got to... I've heard of them too, finding like the hoses, your airlines will have like a plastic coating, and over a little bit of time, that plastic coating starts to crack and peel. I've heard of officers shutting guys down, telling them their airlines are cracked, and making them change them just because that coating was peeling off. Was cracked and peeling off. The airlines itself were fine. It was just the coating on the outside. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that coating's that important to DOT. I mean, whenever I've had, my DOT inspections done on my trucks, they don't ever say anything about that, you know, at the shops, like at Love's or at Speedco or, you know, at the TA shops or anything. I've never ever heard them say anything about it. So I think it just kind of depends on where you end up and who's inspecting you, you know. So, but yeah, this time of the year you definitely want to mind your P's and Q's. But that concludes this video, guys, and you know, it wasn't nothing much to it, but I appreciate you watching, appreciate you listening. I hope it was enjoyable for you. I hadn't done a driving log in a while, and so I kind of wanted to do that, let you guys see a little bit of Georgia, see what I had to deal with in the traffic. But yeah, if you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, stay safe and stay alert.